The great tower of the Galactic Council floated high above the white clouds of Zorath Prime. Its silver walls glowed under the light of 3 suns. Inside the chamber, hundreds of alien leaders sat in a perfect circle, their voices sharp and cold. "They are too violent," hissed the Saraxi matriarch, her thin wings twitching. Her jewel-like eyes flickered with disgust. "Humans fight each other over dirt and water. They are a danger to us all." "They are not ready for the stars," said a heavy, stone-skinned Targathian. His deep voice rumbled through the chamber. "Invite them, and they will bring war." Many others agreed. The decision was swift. Earth would not join the council. No seat, no voice, no place among the stars. Far away on a small blue world, humanity watched from a distance. No one asked their opinion. No one sent them messages of friendship. The humans were ignored. Forgotten. But humans remembered. They studied the galaxy quietly. They read every scrap of data. They listened to every broadcast. They learned, and they began to build. For 100 years, the galaxy thrived. Powerful, empires traded and grew rich. Ancient species argued over borders and politics but never truly fought. Most wars ended before they began. Peace seemed endless, until the Vral came. They came from the blackness between galaxies, their ships sharp as knives, their technology older than anyone could understand. They spoke no words. They sent no signals. They only attacked. Worlds burned. In silence, entire cities vanished under white-hot beams of light. Planets screamed for help, but their fleets were crushed like paper toys. The Vral consumed everything they found, and nothing could stop them. On Zorath Prime, the council gathered again, their voices shaking. "We cannot stop them," cried a serpentine Drail diplomat, her silver scales pale with fear. "They slaughter entire systems in hours." "Their numbers are endless," whispered another. "We are next." For the first time in thousands of years, the galaxy's rulers knew terror. Weeks passed. One star system after another fell. The skies above Zorath Prime darkened with smoke as Vral ships appeared in orbit. Explosions lit the horizon. The once proud capital of the galaxy was under siege. The council tower trembled under distant bombardment. Leaders huddled together, whispering in panic. "This is the end," murmured the Saraxi matriarch. Her jeweled eyes dimmed. "No one is left to help us." And then, a voice cut through the chaos. "This is Admiral James Rourke of the Terran Defense Armada. Coordinates received. Stand by." The voice was calm, steady, human. The council chamber froze. "Humans," someone whispered. "Those savages? From that forgotten world?" No one answered. All eyes turned to the skies. At first, the Vral fleet held its position, dark and menacing. Then space itself seemed to shiver. A ripple of light tore open above. Zorath Prime. One ship appeared. Then 10. Then hundreds. And then they came. The Terran fleet emerged from hyperspace in perfect formation, an endless wall of black and steel. Their ships were larger than anything the Council had ever seen. Some were shaped like arrows, others like floating fortresses. Every ship bristled with weapons that glowed a deadly red, and behind them, massive battle platforms unfolded like mechanical flowers, each the size of a small moon. Their cores burned with power and their weapons turned silently toward the enemy. A voice filled every channel. "Target locked. Engage." The stars exploded with light. The humans did not hesitate. Their ships moved like predators, sleek and fast, tearing through the Vral line. Beams of energy cut through enemy armor like it was paper. Missiles screamed across the void, striking with brutal precision. The first Vral ship exploded, then another, then 10 more. For the first time, the Vral fleet faltered, and for the first time the Council saw humanity's true face. The Council tower shook as the battle began. The leaders of 100 species pressed against the great glass windows, staring, in awe and terror. Outside, the sky was no longer blue. It burned red and white as Terran ships clashed with the Vral. Human warships moved with machine-like precision. Their engines roared silently in the void, their weapons blazing in perfect rhythm. Every shot was measured. Every strike was fatal. The Vral fired back, their black ships spitting beams of energy that tore through space. But humanity did not break. Dreadnoughts the size of cities absorbed the damage, their shields flaring bright before returning fire with overwhelming force. And then the machines came alive. Hundreds of automated war platforms spun into motion. Each one bristled with railguns and plasma cannons. Swarms of hunter drones launched from their bellies, black as shadows, fast as lightning. The drones moved like a living storm, ripping through enemy ships. A single command echoed through every Terran vessel. No retreat, no mercy. On the ground, the Council's guards clutched their weapons, unsure whether to feel hope or fear. The Siraxi matriarch pressed a trembling hand against the window as a massive Vral battleship exploded in a silent flash, its debris falling like burning rain. "By the stars," she whispered. "They are unstoppable." The Drael diplomat trembled, her silver scales reflecting the light of the battle. "Those are humans?" she asked softly. "The species we called primitive?" No one answered. Above them, humanity's fleet cut deeper into enemy lines. The Terran dreadnought TDS Olympus fired a railgun shot that pierced 2 Vral destroyers in a single blow. The explosion lit up the void like a new star. Terran pilots moved like hunters. Their fighters darted between enemy beams, slicing through shields with surgical precision. In their cockpits, human eyes were calm, focused, cold. This was not their first war. The Vral fought with ferocity, but humanity fought with something older, something deeper. Survival. The war machines learned faster than any living mind. Every destroyed drone sent data back to the fleet, and each new swarm grew smarter, deadlier. The Vral's tactics began to fail. Their formations collapsed. Within hours, the once feared enemy was in full retreat. But humanity did not stop. "Admiral," a Terran officer called out, "the enemy is fleeing into deep space." Admiral Rourke stood on the command bridge of his flagship, his hands clasped behind his back. His face was carved from stone. "Pursue," he ordered. "We finish this war tonight." The fleet surged forward like a tidal wave. For the Council, the view was terrifying. The humans did not fight for honor or diplomacy. They fought to win. Every blast was precise. Every movement was efficient. There was no hesitation, no fear. And yet, in that cold precision, there was something deeply human, a burning will to protect, to survive, to rise higher than anyone believed possible. Hours passed. The skies above Zorath Prime grew quiet. The last Vral ship detonated in a distant flash, its wreckage scattered across the stars. The war was over, but silence did not bring comfort. In the council chamber, the alien leaders sat frozen as Admiral Rourke entered, flanked by soldiers in black combat armor. Their glowing visors gave no hint of emotion. The Siraxi matriarch rose from her seat. You saved us," she whispered. "You saved the galaxy." Rourke's cold gaze swept across the room. "We saved ourselves," he said. His voice was calm, steady, and final. "You ignored us," he continued. "You left us in the dark. You called us dangerous, primitive, weak." He took a step forward, his boots echoing through the silent hall. "You were right about one thing," he said. "We are dangerous." Behind him, holograms of the Terran fleet lit up the chamber. Thousands of warships, drones, and machines of destruction. The sight stole the breath of every alien present. Rourke leaned closer. His voice was low but sharp as a blade. "Humanity doesn't beg for a seat at your table." He paused. "Humanity owns it now." The chamber fell silent. Fear and awe filled the air like smoke. The galaxy had changed forever. The forgotten world had risen, and every species in the room knew. Humanity was no longer just a voice among the stars. They were the stars' new rulers. The war against the Vral was not truly over. They had fled, vanishing into the black emptiness between stars. Their ships were shattered, their numbers broken, but their hunger had not died. Somewhere in the cold dark, they were waiting. But humanity was no longer the forgotten species from a small blue planet. They were hunters now. Admiral Rourke stood aboard the flagship TDS Olympus, staring out into the endless void. The stars were cold pinpricks of light, but to him, they looked like prey. His reflection in the glass was hard and tired. He had seen too many battles, too many graves, but he would see this war through to the end. Status of the fleet? He asked quietly. 72 battle groups are ready to deploy, his officer reported. The new drones are fully operational, and the Titan-class carriers are online. Rourke nodded. Good, send the signal. The command traveled through every Terran ship, every station, every war machine. Across the galaxy, humanity prepared for the next step. For centuries, the alien empires had ruled the stars, believing themselves untouchable. They had dismissed humanity as savage. Now they watched in silence as the Terran armada moved like a steel tide, sweeping across the galaxy, hunting the Vral wherever they hid. Entire sectors turned into battlegrounds. Human fleets struck with precision, leaving nothing but wreckage behind. The Vral, once feared as unstoppable predators, now ran like cornered animals, and wherever the Terran ships passed, the other species watched with awe and fear. In the council tower, the alien leaders gathered again, but the room felt different now. The arrogance was gone. Only silence and unease remained. They are everywhere, whispered the Drael diplomat, her voice trembling. Human fleets move faster than any empire. Their machines fight without rest. They have become a power greater than the council itself, another leader murmured. The Saraxi matriarch closed her jeweled eyes. No, they are not a power. They are a storm. Weeks turned into months. The galaxy itself seemed to tremble under the march of Terran warships. The humans showed no hesitation, no mercy. Each battle was planned with machine precision. The drones learned faster, adapting after every fight. The war machines became legends, giant spheres of steel and death, glowing red as they unleashed destruction. The Vral had been hunters once. Now they were prey. But humanity was not only a force of destruction. Every planet they liberated was rebuilt. Every species they saved was given supplies, medicine, and protection. The aliens who once mocked humanity now whispered their name with reverence. Terran soldiers walked through ruined cities, handing food to frightened children. Engineers worked day and night to restore power to shattered worlds. Humanity had risen from the shadows not only as warriors, but as guardians. On the bridge of the Olympus, Admiral Rourke stood with his hands clasped behind his back, watching a hologram of the galaxy. Red marks, the Vral strongholds, were vanishing one by one. Another nest destroyed, reported his officer. Sir, they're running out of places to hide. Rourke's face was unreadable. They thought we were weak. Now they know better. Finally, after months of relentless pursuit, the last Vral fleet was cornered in a dead system at the edge of the galaxy. The battle was short, brutal, final. When the last Vral ship burned, a heavy silence filled the void. The war was over. Humanity had won. In the council chamber, the leaders of 100 species bowed their heads as Admiral Rourke entered. You have saved the galaxy, whispered the Saraxi matriarch. Rourke's voice was calm, but there was steel in his words. We saved ourselves, and now, the galaxy will never forget Earth. He looked around the silent room, at the rulers who once ignored his people. From this day forward, he said, humanity does not stand behind anyone. We lead. The stars outside burned brighter than ever. The forgotten children of Earth had risen higher than any empire before them. And every species knew one truth. The age of humanity had begun. The war was over, but the galaxy did not feel peace. The stars were quiet now, but that silence was heavy, like the breath before a storm. Everywhere across countless systems, alien eyes turned upward with a mixture of awe and fear. The humans had come from their small blue world, crushed the nightmare that had devoured civilizations, and left behind a truth no one could ignore. Humanity was no longer just another species. Humanity was power. On Earth, celebrations roared. For weeks, cities lit up their skies with fireworks, children waved Terran flags, and people cried with joy for soldiers returning home. But not all soldiers returned. In the streets of New London, statues were raised for the fallen. Rows of names etched in steel reflected sunlight like stars. Mothers placed flowers at memorials. Veterans stood in silence, their eyes haunted by memories of fire and death in the void. Victory was theirs, but it came at a cost humanity would never forget. The Terran fleet became a symbol. Their black warships hovered in orbit above liberated worlds like silent guardians. Drones patrolled hyperspace lanes to protect traders and travelers. Where once humans had been mocked as primitives, now they were respected, even feared. On Zorath Prime, the Galactic Council rebuilt its shattered cities. Towers rose again, gleaming silver in the sun, but the mood had changed. The alien rulers who once ignored Earth now bowed their heads when Terran officers passed. In every council meeting, humans now sat at the center table, their flag displayed proudly. But humanity did not seek revenge. Instead, they rebuilt. Engineers and scientists worked day and night repairing what had been broken. Worlds that were burned by the Vral were given water, food, and power again. Human doctors treated alien children in hospitals that ran under the Terran banner, and, slowly, fear turned into trust. Admiral Rourke became a legend. His name was whispered in every star system, not only as the man who crushed the Vral, but as a leader who stood firm against fear. He traveled across the galaxy, speaking in halls, where humans were once not welcome. "We are not here to rule by fear," he said in one famous speech. "We are here because we know what it means to fight for survival. No one will be left alone again. Not while humanity stands." Those words echoed through every broadcast. Civilizations that had once stood divided began to unite, not out of fear, but out of hope. Yet deep in the darkness of space, humanity never stopped preparing. The Terran armada grew stronger, its ships larger, its weapons deadlier. The galaxy had been reminded that predators always lurked in the void, and humanity swore they would never be prey again. On a quiet night aboard the Olympus, Admiral Rourke stood alone on the observation deck. The stars stretched endlessly, cold and beautiful. His reflection in the glass looked older now, worn by the weight of war. Behind him, a young officer approached. "Sir," she said softly, "peace talks are going well. The Council has agreed to Earth leading the new alliance." Rourke gave a small nod. "Good," he murmured, but his eyes never left the stars. "Do you think we'll ever face something like the Vral again?" the officer asked. Rourke's jaw tightened. "Yes," he said finally, "and when we do, we'll be ready." Far across the galaxy, humans continued to spread. They built colonies on distant worlds, trained fleets in secret stations, and sent scouts to the edges of the universe. Some aliens called them heroes, some called them conquerors, but all of them knew one truth: humanity had become the shield of the galaxy. The once forgotten children of Earth now shaped the future of 1,000 civilizations. The galaxy trembled when they came, but now it stood under their protection. And in the quiet of the stars, whispers grew. The age of man had not just begun, it would never end. The galaxy believed peace had returned. Trade routes reopened. Cities once turned to ash now glimmered under starlight. Children across 100 worlds grew up with stories of humanity. The warriors who came from nowhere, who fought like demons, and who saved them all. But deep in the void, far from any star, something was moving. On the edge of known space, a Terran scout ship drifted in silence. Its crew scanned a lifeless system, a cluster of dead planets circling a dying sun. Everything seemed quiet. Too quiet. Lieutenant Mara Kane leaned forward, frowning at her console. "Admiral, we've got something," she said, her voice low. The hologram above her flickered, showing a strange shape at the far edge of the system. It was massive, darker than space itself and unlike anything recorded. "Is that a ship?" asked another officer. "No," Kane whispered. "It's bigger." Before anyone could respond, every system on the scout ship went dark. Then came the sound. A low, impossible hum. It vibrated through their bones. Screens flickered with symbols no one could understand. "Get us out of here," the captain shouted. But it was too late. The last transmission from that ship was a single word, broken and filled with static. "Run." Admiral Rourke stood on the bridge of the Olympus when the report came in. He read the transmission twice, his face hardening. "Another one," he muttered. It wasn't the first scout ship to vanish. In recent months, 5 Terran ships had disappeared in distant sectors, each leaving behind a single, haunting signal. No one knew what it meant. He turned to his officers. "Mark this system as high threat. Send 2 more fleets to investigate." "Yes, sir." Rourke stared out at the stars. A storm was coming. He could feel it. Meanwhile, whispers spread through the galaxy. Traders told stories of ships swallowed by darkness, of stations found empty, their lights still on but their people gone. Some claimed to have seen strange objects moving at the edge of their scanners, massive shapes that vanished when approached. The sea. Council was worried. "We have fought one nightmare," said the Siraxi matriarch, "but I fear another is waking." On Earth, humanity celebrated their new power. Their fleets patrolled every corner of the galaxy. Their banners flew over countless worlds, and their scientists pushed technology beyond imagination. Yet even at the height of their strength, there was unease. The Viral had been terrifying, but they had been understood. They were hunters, predators, alive. This was something else. Weeks later, a Terran battleship discovered the ruins of an alien colony no one had known existed. The planet was dead, its cities shattered, its surface scarred by enormous craters, no life signs, no survivors, and no sign of who or what had done it. The battleship's crew sent recordings back to Earth. The images showed towering, jagged structures buried deep in the planet's crust, glowing faintly with an eerie blue light. "Whatever did this," one scientist whispered, "is older than the Viral, older than us all." Rourke stood in the council chamber, the recordings playing behind him. The room was silent. The aliens, once proud rulers, now stared at him with wide, fearful eyes. "This is not the Viral," Rourke said. His voice was calm, but carried a weight that chilled everyone. "This is something older. Something worse." He looked at the stars on the hologram map. Unknown sectors glimmered red as reports poured in of more disappearances. "We thought we had reached the top," he continued. "We thought we were the apex. We were wrong." In the depths of uncharted space, a colossal shape stirred. It was not alive in any way the galaxy understood. It was something ancient, mechanical, and vast. And it was watching. The humans had become the shield of the galaxy, the warriors who stood against monsters. But even they felt a chill as they looked into the void. Because now, for the first time since their rise, humanity felt small again. The next war was coming, and this time the galaxy might tremble not just in fear, but in despair. The stars felt different now. The galaxy had been full of life, of voices and light, but lately there was a strange silence. Patrols reported empty systems, whole sectors where no signals came back. Ancient ruins were discovered, older than any known species, filled with strange markings and glowing machinery that no one could read. Scientists whispered that something had been sleeping for millions of years, and humanity's rise had awakened it. Admiral Rourke sat alone in his quarters aboard the Olympus. The hum of the engines was steady, familiar, but his thoughts were restless. He stared at a hologram of the galaxy, filled with red marks that showed the recent disappearances. They were spreading. He leaned back, rubbing his tired eyes. "We fought so hard," he murmured to himself. "We climbed from the dirt. We stood against the Vral. And now—" He trailed off, staring at the stars through the viewport. They looked calm, beautiful, and endless. But he knew better. Somewhere out there, something was watching. In deep space, a Terran exploration fleet approached a dark system. The sun was dead, the planets shattered, but their sensors picked up energy readings. The flagship, TDS Horizon, moved carefully between drifting asteroids. "Scan complete," said the science officer. "Sir, there's something huge ahead." The captain squinted at the hologram. A shape appeared, massive and jagged, like a mountain floating in space. It was not a ship. It was a structure. No, a machine, half buried in an asteroid belt. "Is it abandoned?" the captain asked. Before anyone could answer, every light in the ship flickered. The crew froze as a deep vibration filled the air. The strange structure lit up, lines of glowing blue spreading across its surface like veins. Then came a voice. Not a voice of flesh and blood. Not words in any known language. It was a cold whisper, echoing inside every mind on the ship. "We see you." Back on Earth, alarms rang across every command center. Data from the horizon poured in before the signal abruptly died. The last transmission was a single image, a colossal mechanical eye opening in the dark. The Terran High Command called an emergency meeting. Generals, scientists, and diplomats gathered in a secure chamber. The mood was grim. "We thought the Vral were our greatest enemy," one general said. "They were nothing but predators. This feels like something else." The lead scientist stood, pale and shaking. "We've been analyzing the symbols found on the ruins," she said. "We believe they're warnings. Ancient warnings." "Warnings? Of what?" Admiral Rourke demanded. The scientist looked at him, her voice trembling. "Of gods made of metal, machines older than the stars. They were not destroyed. They were locked away. And now, Admiral, they are waking up." Across the galaxy, strange things began to happen. Ships vanished near uncharted systems. Space stations reported massive shadows moving past them, too fast to scan. Entire colonies went silent overnight. The Council was terrified. Species that once ruled with pride now begged humanity for help. But even humanity, with all its fleets and deadly war machines, felt small against this new enemy. Admiral Rourke stood on the bridge of the Olympus as reports came flooding in. His officers looked pale and shaken. "Sir," one whispered, they're not attacking. They're just watching." Rourke's expression hardened. "Then they're planning." He looked out at the endless void, his reflection dark against the stars. "Send word to every fleet," he said, his voice steady. "We double production. We prepare for war. Whatever's coming, we meet it head-on." In the depths of space, far beyond the reach of any star, a colossal mechanical being stirred. Its body was larger than a moon, its glowing core pulsing like a heartbeat. All around it, hundreds more began to awaken, their eyes lighting up one by one. The galaxy shivered. The Vral had been a nightmare. But this was something far older, far colder, far worse. And as the machines awoke, one thought echoed through the void. The age of flesh is over. The galaxy was holding its breath. Humanity's fleets patrolled the stars, their massive dreadnoughts gliding through silent space like predators. But even the might of the Terran Armada could not calm the fear spreading through every world. Something ancient had awakened, something older than history itself, and no one knew when it would strike. In the Terran High Command war room, holograms of entire star systems floated in the air. Red markers blinked where colonies had vanished, their signals cut off without warning. Blue lines showed the spread of Terran fleets, each one stretched thin to cover every sector. Admiral Rourke stood at the center of the room, his jaw tight. Around him, generals and scientists spoke in hurried voices, their faces pale. We've confirmed 9 disappearances this week, one officer reported. No debris, no signals. It's as if the colonies never existed. Another scientist added, energy readings in those systems show traces of exotic matter. It's not natural. It matches the ruins we found. The council representative, a Drael diplomat, trembled. You think they are testing their weapons? Rourke turned his cold gaze toward her. No, they're hunting. Across the galaxy, humanity began to prepare. Shipyards worked without pause, constructing larger and deadlier ships. Drones were redesigned, their intelligence upgraded. New classes of weapons were tested in secret. Railguns the size of skyscrapers, plasma cannons that could vaporize moons, and AI war platforms capable of commanding entire fleets on their own. In every city on Earth, banners of the Terran flag flew high. Factories thundered day and night, building armor, weapons, and ships. Children watched in awe as carriers blotted out the sky, heading for distant battlefields. Humanity was no longer the forgotten species. They were an army, a machine of war. But even as they prepared, fear lingered. Reports came from soldiers stationed in far-off systems, shadows moving in the void, signals that vanished mid-transmission, and sometimes strange voices in their communications, cold and metallic, whispering words no one could understand. A soldier aboard the dreadnought TDS Valiant described it best in his log. The stars feel wrong, like something is out there, just watching us, waiting for us to blink. Admiral Rourke knew the enemy would come soon. He had seen their machines in recordings, the massive constructs, each larger than a moon, moving with slow, deliberate purpose. They didn't attack randomly. They moved like predators, studying their prey. And Rourke understood one truth. Humanity was prey no longer. One night aboard the Olympus, Rourke stood on the observation deck, looking out at the endless sea of stars. Behind him, Captain Mara, Kane approached quietly. Sir, she said softly. Intelligence reports movement at the edge of Sector 9. Something big. Rourke didn't turn. His eyes stayed fixed on the stars. How big? Kane hesitated. Sir, bigger than anything we've seen. There was a long silence. Finally, Rourke said, Order every fleet to full readiness. It's time. Across the galaxy, alarms echoed through Terran stations. Massive carriers powered up, their engines glowing like suns. Fleets formed in tight formations, their black hulls reflecting the light of distant stars. War machines awoke from silent storage bays, their cores glowing red as they prepared for battle. In the shadow of Earth's moon, a colossal ship emerged, a Titan-class super-dreadnought, the largest vessel humanity had ever built. Its name burned in red letters across its side, TDS Leviathan. The message was clear. Humanity was ready. But as the fleets prepared, something stirred in the farthest reaches of space. The ancient machines moved. Their massive shapes blotted out starlight, their glowing eyes burning like suns. They spoke in a language no one understood, a chorus of metallic whispers that shook the void. And for the first time in centuries, humanity felt truly challenged. Admiral Rourke tightened his fist as he watched the hologram of the enemy's advance. Let them come, he whispered. We'll show them what it means to wake a sleeping giant. The war to end all wars was about to begin, and the galaxy trembled once more.